It's Platt, and today we go to a really old house. That's next to Platt's Beer of the Week. So the particular beer we have today is Traquair House Ale. You guys know how I love my history along with my beer, and I think you might like this video because there's plenty of history for sure. The story is not really about the brewery, even though we'll get to that. It's about the house, the Traquair House. Apparently, this is the oldest continually habitated house in all of Scotland. Now, historians aren't 100% sure on the origin story, but it is believed that the original house was built in the 12th century for Scottish kings and their courts as a hunting lodge. Now, what historians can verify is that the oldest parts of the current house were built all the way back into the 15th century. So we're talking about 600 years, which is absolutely amazing to think about. In the year 1491, the year before Columbus came to the New World, the house was gifted to James Stewart. He was the first laird or first generation of the family to live in Traquair. Now today the house has over 50 different rooms. There's a drawing room, a museum room, the grounds. This is one of those classic English, Scottish, Irish, kind of courtly manners. Today the grounds are open. Apparently they do some events there. You could take tours. Obviously you visit the brewery. Just a classic old manor. Now, where the brewery came in was an interesting story. In 1965, Peter Stewart, the 20th laird, or the 20th generation of the Stewart family to live in the house, crazy to think about, he accidentally stumbled upon a brewery. He was at a part of the house that a lot of people didn't go to, found this room, and inside was brewing equipment from the 18th century. Apparently there was a mash tun, some oak, 200-plus-year-old oak barrels that were used for aging the beer, and he decided to start brewing on the equipment, start the brewery there. Apparently the story was that back in the 1700s, a brewery was built. There was a chapel connected to the house, and underneath that chapel was a secret room that no one knew about, or at least for a couple hundred years did not know about, and inside was a brewery. And Peter found this brewery and decided to start brewing. Real quick, let's talk about their beers. Obviously, this is a small brewery with a small line of beers. I think they have a total of 5-6 beers, something like that. But let's review some of those. First is Jacobite Ale. Comes in at 8% ABV. This beer was named after the 1745 Jacobite Rebellion. If you know your Scottish history any, very pivotal time in their history. Next is Bear Ale, 5% ABV. Most people would think of that as a standard ale. They consider that their light ale or lighter ale. This beer was the first beer they produced for tap, so it was their first draft style beer. Lastly, we have 160 shilling ale. If you know the shilling scale, it goes, I think, from 50 to 60 all the way up to 160. And it was a way back in the day they used to tax beer, was they'd tax the amount of malt that went into a beer. But this is also a way for the consumer to kind of know, because the more malt generally led to more body, also more alcohol. So it's kind of, besides a taxation system, it's also kind of a rating system, and this is the very top of that. This particular beer comes in at 9.5% ABV, and they say has a shelf life of 10 years, so you would almost hold it more like a wine and let it age a little bit instead of a traditional beer. Well, before we try this particular beer, though, let's check out stats. All right, so I've decided today we're going to change it up a little bit. Normally this is where I do questions for Platt, and then we get into the beer review. I'm going to switch it up. You guys let me know. Give me a little feedback whether you like that a little bit not. I do get comments, and I understand I get a little long-winded and people want to get to the review. So let's go ahead and jump in the review. First, some tasting notes. I've looked up on this. Rate Beer has this scored at a 97. Beer Advocate lists this as a world-class beer. Some of the tasting notes are kind of a fruity malt, plum, vanilla, almost a sherry characteristic to it. So let's go ahead and jump in. All right, just do. All right, boy, that is nice and dark brown. got about a finger width of kind of a lighter khaki color head to it. Let's go ahead and dive in the nose. Oh, that's just those classic notes. Not real dark, even though color-wise it appears really dark. The nose is a little bit lighter. It's not just straight to espresso and coffee and dark chocolate notes. There's more of the little toasty notes in the nose. Let's go ahead and jump in. Oh, that's nice. That's again, it still has the classic at 7%. It's still a little bit warming. It's still a bigger beer. Body-wise, I'm gonna say medium plus. I don't think it's a big body beer, but we're getting toward that. Again, the malt notes, there is some darker notes there, but again, we're not to that espresso chocolate, those, like a more of a dry stout, those real dark. These are a little more complex. They do have some of the dark fruit. Haven't got plum yet, but it's darker fruits. The vanilla is definitely there. I get the fruity maltiness. Not sure about a sherry characteristic. I'm gonna let this sit though, let it open up a little bit. While we do that, let's jump into questions for Platt. If you have a question you would like me to answer in a video, please send it to questionsforplatt Please send it to plattsboozblog@gmail.com. In the subject line, put questions for Platt. Sorry about that. Today's question comes from Cameron, and he asked, or he tells me he brewed some homebrew, wanted to check on it, which too many people do. If the fermentation's going fine, leave it alone. But apparently he checked it and noticed an off, almost sulfur type smell. Was it ruined? Is it safe to drink? Answer is, yeah, you're probably all right. One of the things I tell when I talk to new brewers is, A, don't be checking your beer all the time. If you see bubbles, if it's fermenting, just leave it alone. Another thing, though, to think about is when you do check it, there is going to be an off smell. One of the byproducts of fermentation is CO2. We as humans also produce CO2. Think about that smell, then you realize, oh, okay, it's just the CO2. It's going to be a little bit of off smell, but as long as it's not just too insane, your brew is fine. Leave the airlock on, leave the balloon, whatever you use as that, just let it go and it'll be all right. All right, we've let this kind of sit for a little bit. Let's dive back in. I still don't get the sherry. And I know there's a variety of sherry out there, but I don't get the sherry. The vanilla is definitely there. That second go around, the vanilla hits a little bit more. Definitely that fruity maltiness. We're in a kind of a toffee range as far as, I guess, a good way of the malt. It's not it's a little more than toasted, even though you kind of pick those up too. This is more of a toffee, kind of the, between toasted and those dark notes, is that spot in between. But definitely a well-executed beer. This tastes like someone that's been making this style of beer for a long time and knows what they want to do with it. Well, I hope you liked this video. If you did, please subscribe down below. Also, please like the video because it lets YouTube know we're putting out good content. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or beers that you'd like me to try, please leave them in the comment section, or you can always contact me on the Twitter page. Until next time, bombs up.